Good evening and welcome to The Link, our viewers, this week's edition. And we always keep our promise to give you information that you can use and opportunities. And we try to keep it. And tonight we're doing both. We're discussing the export business, if you like, but specifically to the United Kingdom. Last week, the United Kingdom with Uganda, the business community held a forum where there was a discussion on trade in both directions, but also especially for the UK. Tonight we want to delve into things that you must know if you're going to export to the United Kingdom. And UK separated itself from the European Union and therefore has its own, if you like, regime or protocols in terms of export. And there are some good things there. I hope you have a pen and paper. And tonight my guest is Mr. Jamal Hussain, Regional Trade Advisor for East Africa under the UK Foreign Office. Jamal, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I saw you did, last week you did a good presentation on this issue that we're going to talk about by extension for those who are not there. Take us through the developing countries trading scheme, which is acronym DCTS. Don't worry, viewers. It's a special scheme is going to explain. Take us through that and why it's important for Uganda's export business with UK.
Thank you very much again for having me.
Yeah.
Firstly, let me say it's very timely that we're having this discussion on the back of the UK-Uganda Agricultural Agro-Industrialization Forum. Yes. From last week, where as you mentioned, we talked a lot about these issues. Yes. We had over 150 people in the room between business stakeholders, development partners, and of course co-hosted between the British High Commission in Kampala as well as the Ministry for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives and the Ministry for Agriculture. So yes, delighted to be here on the back of that excellent forum, the first of its kind, to talk about what is our flagship offer essentially to Uganda, which is, as you mentioned, the Developing Countries Trading Scheme. So this is a scheme that operates globally. Its beneficiaries include 65 countries, 30 of those within Africa, obviously including Uganda. And it was launched 2 years ago now. So we just celebrated our 2-year anniversary back in June. And the purpose of the scheme is essentially to boost trade with our key development partners, Uganda included, with a view to boosting job creation and supporting broader development and economic transformation in these countries. Right. So I guess the question is, how does it do that?
How does it do that? Yes.
Which is fair. So what it does is very simply, it reduces or completely eliminates the tariffs on the exports of goods going into the UK. So for Uganda, that means a huge 99.8% of tariff lines are completely eliminated and have been for since the scheme launched. And so that means your exporter is obviously getting that tariff benefit in it being completely eliminated, and also that comparative advantage when their product is on the shelf in comparison to those countries who are slightly of a higher economic level, who wouldn't necessarily be getting that same comparative advantage. So that's one part of the scheme in terms of the elimination of tariffs. The other part of the scheme is around rules of origin, which is a very technical term, but essentially
we'll break it down.
But essentially it means how you passport the good. So what the DCTS scheme allows for is for the exporter to still be able to export to the UK using inputs from countries across from all the different DCTS countries that I mentioned, who are also beneficiaries, as well as our economic partnership agreement countries, as well as some others, and they're able to use those imports and still access the UK market, tariff-free, duty-free.
Let me give an example. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Please.
I have a product. It's made in Uganda. However, it has inputs from some of the countries under the scheme. the scheme allows me to do that.
Exactly. So provided you, that's exactly it. So provided you meet the relevant, what we call the processing standards, so like some processing must have occurred just to make sure that there is some value addition taking place. And we want that value addition taking place, right? We don't just want the product to come into Uganda and be exported straight out. So that's really important. And as I said, the benefit for that is both that we're creating value in the product, we're supporting Ugandan exports to go up the chain in terms of value creation, but also supporting intra-Africa trade. Because as you know, intra-Africa trade is key. We have already the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We also have the trilateral agreement within East Africa now, the tripartite agreement. And all focuses on how do we provide the best arrangements at the framework level to support those goods to be able to export it. And the DCTS scheme is a great example of us being able to provide that mechanism and still get duty-free, quota-free access to the UK market.
Okay, and I guess viewers, the time we have here doesn't allow us to go into nitty-gritty, but here you are. If you're in business, you've got to do some reading and find some explanation around these things, because therein lies opportunity. Let's go to the second question. Some of the products of Uganda have already been exported under the scheme, so people don't think we are starting at zero. Where are we? What do you know from your standpoint?
No, that's a good question. So perhaps it's first to say UK-Uganda trade has been progressing and improving in terms of the bilateral flows. So I think by the last measure, when I looked at the statistics, it was roughly £580 million worth of bilateral trade. So in Ugandan shillings, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's around the 2.7 trillion. About that. Measure, quick math. No, I looked that up before. So that's the bilateral trade. And obviously for the goods that are going from Uganda to the UK, they're dominated by agricultural goods. It's our strength in a way. Absolutely. So those goods, I mean, you won't be surprised. Coffee is high up there. Of course. Avocados, as well as spices, different types of chilies, and of course cut flowers. I mean, I've named a few, but those are the different exports that are really getting that our consumers are really valuing from and see the benefit from, because they see Ugandan products for their quality and the fact that they are also healthy and sustainable. So those are the products. In terms of the scheme, what we see is some really good figures in terms of the exporters making sure that they are using the scheme, because it's not something that happens automatically. You have to make sure that you're ticking the right boxes on the customs pages and the customs documentation to make sure you're getting that tariff benefit. So we are seeing that for the majority of the products that are being exported, but there's always improvements we can make. So I think this type of engagement is really helpful for us, just to be making sure the exporters know about the scheme, and if they don't know about it, that they are going to start using it, and they're going to make sure that they are getting those tariff savings. Absolutely. And I heard last week you very proactive by saying that if you think you're an exporter and you're not benefiting from the scheme, come speak to us and we want to know what's going on, because we want to help. And I think that is very proactive. I keep on saying on this show, sugarcane, and people laugh at me, but I do know that there's sugarcane going to, a certain type of sugarcane going to UK. I don't know for sure. And it's not one of those traditional products that goes to UK, but I do know there's somebody who takes sugarcane to UK of a certain type. But to do syrups and everything else, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's definitely up there. Yeah. When people think sugarcane, they think, okay, chewing it, but also making sugar here. But it's one of those export commodities, but it's a certain type, so that it fits the market. We want to go for a short break, and then come back and talk more about the scheme and how you, if you like, as an exporter, can export to UK under this preferential scheme. We're coming back after the break. Okay, welcome back to our The Link, and we went for the break speaking about the developing countries trading scheme, which is provided by United Kingdom to help developing countries to be able to deal with the UK in terms of exports and trade. And this, as we have had in the first part, does eliminate a good chunk
even all, in some cases, of all tariffs, including quotas. However, there are things that you need to know as an exporter, things you need to get right in order to qualify. It's not just a blanket. You do things to qualify and benefit. Jamal, let's come back to you. What are some of the challenging areas that Ugandans are encountering while exporting to UK under the scheme? What do you know?
No, it's a really good question.
Yeah.
Because the tools, if the tools are there, they're great.
Yeah.
But if people don't know necessarily how to completely utilize them, then they're sitting on the shelf. Yeah. But yeah, so what we see in terms of, so there are some broad challenges that obviously affect the market as a whole, which are probably worth also speaking to.
Absolutely.
So one of those is, of course, awareness of the scheme. Yeah. So obviously at the UK-Uganda Agro-Industrialization Forum, that was an opportunity for us to make sure that exporters were aware of the scheme, and specifically, as you mentioned, the documentation that they require in order to access it. Absolutely. So those watching can go on to can use the numerous resources that we have online on our gov.uk page /trading with developing countries.
Slowly, no.
Sorry, www.gov.uk
www.gov.
Yes, that's right. .uk
/
trading with developing countries.
Trading with developing countries. That's like one word.
Yeah.
All right. We'll just say it again. Our exporters are grabbing pens.
No.
www.gov.uk / trading with developing countries.
It's a mouthful, so I suggest just putting that into your search browser, and it'll be the first page that comes up.
And I hope you got it with your pen, but we'll put it there for you, so you see it. Please continue.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So it's that awareness raising, and like I said, we already have it seems like exporters that are using the scheme, there is some good awareness out there, but we're keen to improve it, and I'm grateful for you to inviting me on the show so we can expand that knowledge and awareness.
Thanks for coming. Yes.
So I guess that's number one. Yeah. Number two, when I speak to exporters on the ground and also producers, it's about access to markets. So you can have a product, you can have the supply, but there needs to be the demand as well. So how do I find a buyer? We have a really good example of some support that we've provided from the British High Commission here via the UK Trade Partnership Scheme by the ITC group, which is supporting coffee farmers specifically and producers to export to the UK. And we're doing that in several ways, helping them to get to find buyers. So most recently, there's the London Coffee Festival that takes place every year in May. So we took a group of those over to London with their product so that they could meet face-to-face with the buyer, and the buyer could sample the product, and really get to know the quality of the Ugandan produce and build that brand Uganda, so that they can build that relationship and hopefully get those deals. So that's one example of the challenge, which is getting those buyers, and how we're doing work here on the ground in order to match the producer, the farmer, and the buyer. And then there's of course other challenges. So one is access to finance. So of course, I mean it's not unusual for Uganda. It's across East Africa and for farmers more broadly, particularly in these key product lines and goods. So with access to finance, I think it's particularly, we know that agriculture is an incredibly important part of the economy here.
Absolutely.
It's 25% of the contribution to GDP. It's also 70% of the employment. So when we talk about access to finance, and given that those people who are typically employed in agriculture are in the smallholder farming setup, it's particularly important that we're targeting those farmers and that the products we're using are targeting them. So what we've been doing from the British High Commission in terms of our funding is trying to mould the banking landscape so that it can be more responsive to the needs of that particular section of farmers. And specifically, we've been funding research so that those banks can have a better understanding of, okay, so we recognise there's a problem, that the finance hasn't been going necessarily as easy as it could be to those particular groups. Why is that? information sharing? Is it that there's a risk appetite that they haven't really fully understood?
Diagnostics of sorts.
Exactly. And actually, one of the really interesting findings from the sector as a whole is that there's a little bit of reluctance sometimes to lend to women. But however, the data shows that they're actually more reliable with financing.
I agree.
I mean, so this is the type of thing that, like, you know, bits of research that we can do, a little bit of engagement with the banking industry, can make sure that the product actually responds to what is actually the data showing, rather than stereotypes within the sector. And obviously that means that we can provide the products that support access to finance meaningfully, and that those exporters can start really scaling up their business and effectively exporting.
And I can tell you what, with the first challenge you dealt with of people not knowing, there are people who have capacity already, but they just don't know. So knowing fixes a lot of things also. Yes. I know that we can't hover around the challenges, but we need to answer this very important question, Jamal, before the time runs out. In the area of export of animals animal originating products, and that includes in the forum there was a mention of honey, and then issues of sanitary and phytosanitary compliance under the scheme. What do exporters or potential ones need to know if they're going to enter the UK market around phytosanitary and sanitary, compliance?
No, it's a really good question. So I think the first thing they need to make sure of, and I've mentioned it already, but I'm going to repeat it, is to make sure they're checking the guidance. So they're going on the gov.uk to make sure they understand the guidance that is specific to the product they're exporting. So what you'll find is on the guidance that if you type in your specific product, it will be categorized according to its risk. So most vegetables and cut flowers, for example, because of their risk level, require a phytosanitary certificate before export to the UK. And you can, and there'll be certain steps and processes that you'll need to do on this side before it's exported in order to get that certificate. So that's number one. Check the guidance and make sure you have the appropriate documentation before it's.
Do your homework here.
I mean, that's exactly.
Please go on.
Before you send it across. The second tip is when it comes to the documentation, make sure you are using the accurate Latin name. It's a little bit obscure.
Latin name.
Yes, for the product in question.
What a biological name.
Biological name that's often in Latin. So that's it. That's it. So you need to be using that name on the documentation, and you need to be specific to obviously what that product is. Like, don't include other extraneous details. Be as specific as possible, depending on what product you're sending across. So clarity. That's it. And then you mentioned specifically around products of animal origin as well. So Uganda actually has, so these products are a different category to those within the plant and vegetable side of the SPS standards. And for Uganda specifically, there is approval already, which is a credit to Uganda, for export of two areas. One is honey. So there's honey on supermarket shelves. There's the potential for honey on UK supermarket shelves. But two, it's aquaculture. So obviously fish is already an area that we're seeing exports to the UK. And that has to be applied for, but not by the exporter, by the government, because it's an institution to institution relationship. So Uganda, the good news is Uganda already has approval for those areas. There are other areas within that category, like I said, animal origin, that need to be applied for. So before you send, double check that Uganda has the required permissions. Approvals. And if you are interested in sending that product, the first step of point of engagement is the Ugandan authority in order to request that market access. And this, I guess, would be Minister of Agriculture. That's exactly it. Thank you very much, Jamal. I know that there's a lot of stuff we wanted to share. Can you imagine there was a whole session last week in the forum, UK Agro-Industrialization Uganda Forum, and so much was said, but today we have little time. Here on the link, we tickle you and we challenge you to go where we tell you to go to find information. And here in Uganda, they have given us we will put it on the screen. They have given us the website where to go and find information. But also, if you like, you can they come to you? Yes, they can. Please do contact the British High Commission,
yes.
And they will route you to the correct person, and likely that will be me.
Okay.
That's brilliant. But otherwise,
okay.
That's brilliant.
So viewers, we hope we added value to you tonight. It is information you can use plus opportunities. If time allowed us, we would have continued. Thank you for joining us tonight. That was The Link.